Welcome to the Sports Lounge. Here's truly Michael Horn, back in the seat I should be here. Although Mike Gary does a very good job when I'm away.
Good job.
But the guy that we just can't seem to get rid of, and we're happy about that, is the all-pro defensive end, the acting legend, the star of our program, the man who looks down at his notes prior to starting the show. You can see him doing that right now if you're on Facebook Live or on Roku or at crntalk.com, the one and only Fred Dreyer.
Thanks so much. I'm looking for,
what you looking for there?
My favorite ink pen. I can't find it.
Oh, it's an ink pen.
Yeah. But anyway, we're good. Hope everybody's fine. I'm fine. I know you're fine. You're rested. I know you're so rested.
I'm rested.
You have a glow, the Hawaiian glow.
That's good. I was in Hawaii.
You were 10 days? Was that 10 days?
Yeah, but a little longer, almost 2 weeks. I was there on business, broadcasting the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, but I stayed an extra 4 days. I was supposed to leave on a Monday, and I stayed right through till the next Friday. And that was relaxing because I didn't have to do any shows. I could just relax. It was an actual vacation. When's the last time you went on an actual vacation, Fred Dreyer?
Let's see. I don't know how to handle how to wrestle with that one because I don't necessarily need to completely be in a different environment.
You don't?
To relax. I kind of relax, kind of doing what I'm doing. You know.
Well, you look a little tired today compared to me with the big smile on my face and everything ready to go.
I look tired today?
You look a little tired today. It's like a lot of things on your mind, like maybe getting away for 4 days. You and I went to Vegas for a few days.
I drove to Las Vegas for 2 days. I drove back last Thursday in the windstorms that almost. I came up on this long rise up on the freeway, and then I looked over on the other side of the street, and there was an overturned 18-wheeler.
Oh boy! Did you get stuck?
It looked like it just turned over because people were starting to pull over and get out of the way. I don't know, what happened, but yeah. So it was an experience. Well, steering my way through all that stuff, but I didn't see that as a holiday or anything.
Let me give our email address here: FredDreyer at crntalk.com, so people can comment on the show. FredDreyer at crntalk.com, and we're here on the show every week at this time. So the car, the 18-wheeler turned over.
Yeah.
You just drove right by it? It was just, it happened quickly, so there was no backup.
Yeah, it was coming into Vegas as I was leaving. So I hope everyone was okay. But the memorable thing about my trip is that I slept. I don't sleep well in hotels. I've never slept in hotels.
Really?
It's not restful for me.
Even when you were playing, huh?
Even so. I mean, I always seem to get. No doubt there must have been the circus people came in and took my bed because that bed was so pushed out of shape.
In Vegas?
Yes.
So you did not get good sleep?
So I did not get good sleep.
Well, you don't have the lady that comes in to read you the bedtime story that you normally have at your place. You don't have the music that you play. Don't you like to have that nice kind of spa music playing in the background?
No.
That's kind of a way to go to sleep.
I used to when I went to Vegas, I used to go hit the saunas and the massages at the Caesars Palace.
There you
go.
It was
really a lot of fun. Then go gamble.
But you don't do that anymore.
I don't have any desire to do that anymore.
Maybe you and I should just go on a gamble spree up there one time. What do you think?
I play roulette. I can play red and black all day long. And I've pretty much, I can say safely, have won playing roulette before.
Red and black.
Red and black.
All right, we'll continue straight ahead. Red and black with you here today. Mike and Fred here on CRN. It's the Sports Lounge. Thanks for joining us.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody...
We are back in the Sports Loungers. Truly Michael Horn, along with the one and only Fred Dreyer, the all-pro defensive end, the acting legend.
Thank
and
you.
let me just say a big thank you to our operations genius here at CRN, Mike Gary, for putting together a great slideshow when we take our commercial breaks on TV. We're on Roku. We're on Facebook Live. I know we're on CRNTalk.com. I don't know, Periscope. I think we're on a bunch. But anyway, there's some great shots of you, Fred Dreyer, dressed up nicely when you were on the Mark Levin show. Maybe there's pictures of you having a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, and there's one with your pants all splattered with mud and everything, and you got your Rams uniform on. What game was that? Do you recall that one when it comes up?
I believe by looking at it, it
Yeah.
looks as though there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So I've got to say that it was probably Minnesota.
Minnesota game, cold there. That's where you,
Yeah.
I don't know if we've told this audience, that's where you broke your finger, didn't you? It was like ice cold or something there. Didn't you get between two helmets in a game in Minnesota?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that again.
I caught my hand. My hand was on Chuck Foreman's helmet as Bill Simpson, our safety, came up very fast and put his helmet on my hand, and it squashed my finger into Chuck Foreman's helmet.
Boy.
And it was so freaking cold. It didn't register right away until I got into the huddle and he started calling the next play. And I was bent over, I had my hands on my knees, and I looked down, and it was just like a Warner Brothers cartoon where you look down and the finger literally started swelling and throbbing. It was really a lot of fun.
A lot of people, those injuries you don't really hear about. You never hear some announcer say, well, he's got a hand injury, unless it's a quarterback and he sprained something. But in a case like that, you continued playing. Is that correct?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, you're not going to say, you can't come over. Not that I would, but you can't come over and say, hey, could I sit down for a quarter or two because I hurt my finger?
Well, I don't know. Speaking of that, there's a lot of injuries. We're at the halfway point here in this NFL season.
Speaking
almost.
of injuries, yes.
And you get perturbed because you think these players, and I agree with you, do not get prepared for. What do you got right now, the injury list?
Well, look, the current injuries, we're halfway through the National Football League schedule, and I've got a printout here. I'll hold this up for everybody. Here's my printout.
That's a printout.
That's the injury printout, and it's for like 6 or 7 weeks. So this is probably, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks old. But the point is, every single team, there's 32 of them, every single team has at least 9, max 13 injuries per
At
team.
least every team at least has 9?
Yeah, I counted them up.
Wow.
And so it goes alphabetical. And, there's Atlanta is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 individuals on Atlanta are hurt. They got a foot, a back, a concussion, undisclosed, which could be anything. Anywhere from, I'm tired, I don't want to play, or I broke my neck. It's in there somewhere. Achilles, hamstrings. And I went through this, and there's 15 pages of 32 teams, averaging somewhere around 10 to 12 injuries a team. And I went through here, and soft tissue injuries. This is quads, hips, hamstrings, calves, Achilles, feet, those types of things. Muscle groups that are directly related to being in condition or not in condition. I mentioned to you before, folks, that when I watch these games, I look for a couple of little tip-offs, for me anyway, that help me assess what I'm looking at. And the first half of the season has been relatively boring for me as an ex-player. And I don't put that on anybody else. I don't mean to tell you that you should think it's boring too. But I look at it and I see a lot of teams, defenses especially, playing straight-legged. They're not bending their knees. They're not getting over the balls of their feet. They're sore. They're playing like the large muscle groups are sore. And so when I look at the lineup of 32 teams,
It's tough.
and then you watch the games, it kind of starts to fit together for you. And I mentioned that Mike Horn and I went out the last 2 years to Ram Camp.
Oh, yeah.
Out in Irvine,
Yep.
and the one thing that was glaring was how unimpressive the play was. There's no hitting. They're in shorts sometimes, and if they are in pads, and they just go out and go half speed through stuff, and it's the Players Association that has engineered all of the contact away from the sport going into the season.
They designed that so that they don't.
It's
they figure
purposeful.
it's. They think that's going to give them more energy during the regular season, but in reality, they're not ready to play when the game one comes up.
Well, that's what people assume they're thinking.
That's right.
They're not thinking that.
Oh.
They're thinking, I'm not practicing because I'm making a lot of money. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm not going to push myself. I'm going to show up. We negotiated a 10-year collective bargaining agreement with the National Football League, the owners, and we negotiated us players doing nothing during preseason. The regulars don't play. You've heard that. We're resting. I heard the Ram coach say this. McVay. He says, we're really fortunate. We're able to rest our veteran players and the ones who have little nicks and bruises. And I'm yelling it actually. Where the hell did they get the nicks and bruises? They're not hitting anything.
That's right.
What do they go to the beach and they fall down?
Could be.
They get a sunburn or something.
Could be.
I mean, what and why are we now having to have this conversation about why there's so many injuries in this sport? I told you before that if I was a gambler, I would not be gambling on these games.
You would not.
Until the last 5-6 games of the season, because then you have a better shot at people being prepared to play.
Well, you're saying there's an average of between 9 and 13 people injured per team, 32 teams in the league. At 9 people, that's 288 injuries in the league at the bare minimum. And it's more than that. You say it's averaging 10 to 12, so it's over 300 injuries. That's pretty tough when you sit there and we're just getting the season kind of underway. Halfway point, it's like it's a lot of injuries.
Well, just as you say this, I look at under Buffalo, Corey Thompson, offensive line, ankle, questionable. Thompson missed at least the last game while recovering from an ankle surgery.
Oh, boy.
And it is unclear if he will play against the Eagles on Sunday. So there's little comments and quotes about what their injury is all about. Achilles. There's a guy here, Stephen Means. Achilles. He's on the injured reserve. Means is on the injured reserve list with a torn Achilles. So he's out. I mean, how you're getting in deep trouble as a team when you're halfway through the season and you've got 15
That's
people
tough.
Unable to participate.
Your thoughts, email Fred Dreyer at crntalk.com. It's the Sports Lounge coming to you on CRN Talk Radio Network, crntalk.com. Sports Byline, Sirius XM Channel 211, and of course on radio stations all across the country. We'll be back. Hi, everybody. This is Michael. Welcome back to the Sports Lounge. Yours truly, Michael Horn, the one and only Fred Dreyer.
Thank you.
All-pro defensive and acting legend. You saw him on Hunter, Land's End, Agent X, Crisis. I'm telling you, he was in movies here. There's so many different things, and got a new one coming out that I'll be telling you about here at some point real soon. We're talking a little bit. Fred injured his finger during a game when he played in Minnesota. Icy cold. Got the finger between a couple of helmets there, one from his team member, one from another. And so that prompted us to start talking about the halfway point in this year's NFL season. And there's probably 300-plus people on the disabled list right now. Mm-hmm. And, Fred, you had more to add to that because you're saying the players decide when they come back. After they go on the DL, there's no real push to get them back sometimes, is there?
Well, that's a very good point, Michael Horn. What you wind up getting is the results of the collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement this last go-around was a 10-year deal.
Wow.
It's the longest it's ever been. And it's a detriment to the sport because you've got players who are coming into the league, the first 3 or 4 years of their careers are winding down and getting ready to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement. Within that collective bargaining agreement, there's certain understandings and certain negotiated elements that players want in exchange for signing a long-term deal. We've talked about this before. So they're in the 9th year of a 10-year contract.
Right.
And so all these players who have been in the league under 9 years have played only under one collective bargaining agreement. So what they're doing is they come into the league, and they're of the belief that I'm in charge of my negotiations on my contract. I want to get a new contract. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to play hurt. So I'm going to be the one that tells the training staff and the doctors, no, I don't think I'm ready to play yet. He says, well, you look pretty good. You're able to run and you're able to move, and can you do all these things? Yeah, but I don't think I'm ready yet. I'm going to take a couple of 3 more games off. And so there's more. There's more of a wrestling away from management, from the trainers, from doctors, by players who want to be in control and make sure that they're not jeopardizing any kind of contract, future or present contract negotiations. And so all of these players, and believe me, there's a fine line between, I believe, look, you're young people, you're making a lot of money, and you don't want to do anything stupid. I do know that I've seen it before. I've had experience with it to some degree, where the medical staff owes it to the coach, owes it to the owner to get the player back as soon as he can. And sometimes there's a conversation there that may threaten or compromise the healing ability of the player. And so the players are always talking about it amongst themselves, in my day anyway, where they say, how do you feel? Are you going to play? I don't know. I think I need another week, maybe 2. And, they want me to play. They want me to shoot it up. They want me to shoot my ankle up. They want me to shoot my knee up in order to play in this game. And then the player has to decide, am I going to do that? Am I going to give in to what the team wants? Yep. In favor of being in favor with the organization. And so a lot of this is a lot of these players here that you look at. I looked at this one guy on the list. This guy Cam Newton, quarterback, Carolina. Yeah. His foot. He's questionable. Newton is sidelined due to a lisophrenic injury of his foot, and is uncertain if he will be able to play against the 49ers
Again.
Sunday.
Oh, that was last week, yeah.
Yeah, but he's had this injury now the whole season.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not getting Cam Newton. So they had to go dig up another can of quarterbacks.
And they kind of like the new quarterback.
And they like him, and he's doing well. And I think, honestly, the organization wants to move on past Cam Newton.
I think you're right. Well, a lot of injuries there. We, we'll continue to keep a watch on this halfway point. By the way, hi to our listeners, actually our viewers watching on Facebook Live and Roku. Bruce is there, Gail, good to see there. Ingrid, Gay, Zach is tuned in there. Orlando, Beverly, so many more. Thanks for joining us here. We're in the Sports Lounge. Be right back. Email Fred Dreyer at crntalk.com.
Imagine
we're back. Sports Lounge. Coming to you from CRN Talk. Great radio network for you. Fred Dreyer with you. Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 Eastern time. And then, of course, at noon, Saturday Pacific, 3 Eastern. And then again, 6 a.m. Sunday in the morning Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Get them at Sports Byline, also on Sirius XM Channel 211, the Dan Patrick Channel, and, of course, on the radio stations on the CRN Talk network here. Thanks for joining us once again. Here's Fred Dreyer.
Great to be with you, folks. We're talking about injuries. We're talking about teams. We're talking about the players. We're talking about the great National Football League.
Yeah, what about the 49ers? Do you think they were going to do this year? Come on.
Well, what's interesting, if you take a look at the climb that the team made in terms of getting organized, getting a general manager, and getting somebody who the players and the agents will listen to,
right,
and realize that they're with an organization and it's going to do the right thing. And so the 49ers went out and got the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo from New England.
Something else.
Hurt his knee last year, missed the whole year last year.
Right.
Tore his ligaments in his knee, but now he's back, and they've got the right coach, Shanahan, who understands his team, and the team recognizes that the coach is doing the right thing by the players, and so you've got a lot of young talent on that team that is going to be allowed to develop with one another.
They look like they're ready to play. When they come out to the game, they look like they're ready. They got even the uniforms. You mentioned they have their throwback uniforms they were using last week, and they just look like a team that's tough to beat. You get that feeling from them. You know, there's a soccer team in England, I forget which team it is, where they come on the field and they make the animal calls to their opponents and everything, and they go kind of nuts, but they scare them a little bit. And I think by looking like you're ready to play, sometimes you grab the advantage of taking the momentum into your camp before the game starts, you think?
Well, you have to, as a team, you got to find out what it is that gets you ready to play. You know, and everybody should be on the same page individually, but together. You know, I never liked having to feel as though I had to fit into what everyone else was doing. Everybody else kind of just said, you know, I'm ready to go, let's go, and you went out and you played like it, and you sustained it. You know, from one quarter to another at halftime, and you come back, and regardless if you're up or you're down, you played like you meant it, and that's what the 49ers are doing. And here's the other thing that really helps.
What helps?
You can go through this injury list that I have.
Yeah, you've been looking at that all show here.
And you can take a peek at this, and if you can get a team that is not hurt, and will play a little bit hurt.
Right.
And you got people who find playing with one another a lot of fun. You're miles ahead of any other team, because a lot of these teams, at best, they're 500 or sub 500 teams. You know, they're 7 and 9 teams. They're 8 and 8 or whatever they are, but one or two key injuries will decimate those teams.
Yes.
Whereas that won't happen with the 49ers or the Rams or the New England Patriots. The Patriots and the 49ers are the only undefeated teams so far. And so what you're hoping is that these teams really understand that, and most teams do. Most teams are smart, collectively smart, and they understand that we stay healthy, we can make a big run at it. And I think that's where the 49ers, and I think that's where the Patriots are.
Well, speaking of the Patriots, now the oldest coach in the NFL is Pete there up at Seattle, but the Bill Belichick is 67. I think Pete's 68.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bill Belichick is leaving the door open. He wants to coach. Maybe he says into his 70s. He says when I said it, maybe I didn't know what 70 felt like. He said, but he was on a radio. He'd scored that last weekend the 300th win of his career. You kind of expect New England to be having a great season. What a great organization and team they've put together. But Don Shula had 347 wins. George Halas 324. Belichick is up there in 300s now with his 300th career win. This guy, he's a legend here. He's maybe the best. I think he's the best coach in the NFL right now.
Yeah, he is, and he knows that. He's got a good run at it. And what's interesting, here's what's great. Coaches usually say, well, I'll play until it's clear that I shouldn't be playing.
Right.
And I'll know that day when that happens. But what drives that is his teams, the way he coaches them, responding to him. Is the leadership on the team, Tom? With Brady and all the guys on defense, and are they winning when they lose players? This team has notoriously done very well when it's lost players.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, they won the Super Bowl with a kind of a mediocre defense. They just did a great job outscoring people, and they filled in beautifully when they had people, when they lost a defensive lineman, when they lost, I think they lost Hogan, and they lost a couple other guys there that really made them click. And if you can get past moments like that as a coach, and you realize that you're that resilient, then you're more encouraged to, when a time comes to make decisions to stay and move on and reinvest yourself emotionally, then you're that far ahead of the pack. And Belichick is right now.
I agree.
I think he's got his sights on just coaching for the next 10 years, let's say, and we'll see what happens. The big thing is, the big demarcation is going to be Brady. When he goes, what'll happen?
Yeah, because Garoppolo's gone. He's at the 49ers now. Don't forget, follow Fred on Twitter, Fred_Dryer, Facebook.com/The Real Fred Dryer, and email Fred Dryer. That's Dryer. Fred Dryer at CRNTalk.com. Welcome back here. It is the Sports Lounge. Yours truly, Michael Horn, along with the one and only Fred Dreyer here. Lots of stuff talking about. We do get emails, lots of them from time to time. People going to Fred Dreyer at crntalk.com. Fred Dreyer at crntalk.com. Hi to everybody listening to us at CRN Talk Radio, Sports Byline Radio, Sirius XM Channel 211, and every other radio station too. Jason says, in keeping with what we were just talking about, Fred, do you think the 49ers will take it all in the Super Bowl this year? What do you think?
Well, it's tough to predict the actual end, but if you're asking me, which I think you are, right now,
Yeah.
I like San Francisco coming out of the,
I like the Patriots.
NFL.
Patriots. But San Francisco could give the Patriots a run for their money, I will tell you that. Victor says, Fred, you are the best. Hunter's still one of my favorite shows. Need to start it up again. Now, people have asked this before, but has there ever been, we talked about you coming back doing movies, has there ever been any talk about maybe starting a Hunter thing up? You were kind of discussing that a little bit, I thought.
Yeah, that's true. But, those types of things... Those types of things have to be engineered, and right now there's really no desire on the studio's side to bring back Hunter for the sake of bringing it back,
Stevie says, still a sour note about how the Dodgers ended the season. That was a toughie, Steve. Tough for me, but I was it was a little more palatable after the Nats swept the dreaded Cardinals 4 straight. That made it a little easier. And but what do you think? Is still a tough note for you about the Dodger loss?
It is a tough loss. It's one of those elements that no matter how the season ends now in the World Series for the Nats, the Dodgers should have had a shot at going into the World Series.
Well, do you think they'll get? He wants to know if they'll get rid of Dave Roberts.
No, they
I
won't.
don't think so.
They like him.
Yeah, I like him too. He just needs to,
yeah.
maybe they need to.
Well, do you like him as a person? Sure.
Well, but I like him as a manager, except I think he still is a little. And he's not the only guy. If you've got only one or two pitchers that are the strength of your team, you go with your strength, and it's a short series. I'm sorry, they're going to have to go over the pitch count and pitch their arms out like Oral Hershiser did for the Dodgers in '88. And I've seen it with the Washington Nationals. I've seen it maybe Houston is a little richer with pitching, but I've seen it with a lot of other teams where they need to go to their two aces and have them pitch. So I think Dave sometimes has to remember, and all managers have to remember, when you're in a short series, you only got so many pitchers, burn them up, use them. And if you had to handpick a new manager for them, Stevie said, who would it be if they did get rid of Dave Roberts?
A.J. Hinch.
No.
He's the manager of Houston
You would put
Astros.
him in. I like Davey Roberts. Ronnie says Fred Dreyer.
No. Wait, just a second. Just
More?
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
This season, a little bit more about people as things go on. What's true is true, and here's what else is true. Dave is a great guy and a fine manager. He's got a great record to prove it, so forth and so on. Does great. People like him. He's all positive. That's all wonderful. But there's a hole in how he uses pitchers.
Well, now let's look at this for a second, because I was just as burnt up about the Dodger loss as anybody. But let's give it a second. So you're throwing this on Dave Roberts' back for 2 years in a row. First off, okay, maybe he picked the wrong pitcher there with Darvish or whatever, and by the time the game was going on, there was already runs were going crazy. But the guy only pitched an inning and a third or something before he blew the game up. When are you going to take him out? Maybe for half an inning? And so here's the thing with your ace, the so-called ace that I've had a problem with since the get-go. Kershaw throws 2 pitches and gives up 2 home runs, and the season is over for the Dodgers because of it. So what are you going to do, take him out after 1 home run?
Should have never been allowed.
Should have brought him in, right?
Should have never been allowed, and the reason is clear.
What is that?
Everybody in that stadium watching TV that could think knew, believe me, it's true.
Okay.
They knew that he
it.
should have never been sent out in the 8th inning because it was a mismatch It was great that he came in and got
Well, they know that now.
Eaton to strike out, and that was a wonderful
They know
thing.
it now, but I don't know.
No. I know it
If
now.
he would have struck him out,
No,
they would have
no,
said, "You're
no,
a genius."
no.
It's
I'll
like, come
never
on.
acquiesce
It's Clayton
on this.
Kershaw. You're
never
ace.
acquiesce on this ever.
I don't know. I just say once he was out there and he had two pitches, the game's over.
Don't you understand? He can barely throw 89 miles an hour.
He needs to learn how to pitch. Someone needs to work with him in the offseason.
It's too late now, isn't it?
No, in the offseason.
No, it's too late
They
now.
need to teach him how to
He's
become a new
never going to
pitcher.
go back and say, give me another shot at Rendon and Soto. They had a guy, Maeda, for set aside for Rendon. That's the reason that Maeda went out there, to face right-handed hitters, tough ones in the playoffs, and Soto was an up-and-coming powerhouse that he is, and they had the perfect guy, the submarine guy that had been striking him out 8 out of 10 times.
Whose name we always forget, but he's a great guy from Tampa Bay.
But he's the guy. He's the guy that was brought in
Kilimanjaro,
for
whatever his
that moment. And Doc decided, well, we're going to let Kershaw go out and pitch. Under what circumstances?
He's your ace.
Under what circumstances?
He's the ace.
He's not their ace, believe me.
You got to use your pitching staff and burn their arms out when you're in a short series. He tried, but 2 pitches, the season was over. All right, time for a break. Your thoughts, email Fred Dryer at crntalk.com. We'll talk about this in upcoming weeks. Fred Dryer at crntalk.com. It's the Sports Lounge. Michael Horn, Fred Dryer. We'll be back.
opportunity to face the guy that you had to get out.
You had to get him out.
And you gave that move up for a guy who's trying to find himself, that you owe so much to. You're so indebted to Kershaw that you just you're really rooting for him to come in and redeem himself as a pitcher in playoff baseball. And it was the wrong move. Sentiment over reason, wisdom, and common sense.
All right, what about colleges? Are they doing a better job with players than the NFL did? Do you like the colleges now so they can start making money off endorsements? What do you think about that?
Well, they should make money.
You think?
Yes. Gee whiz.
It's kids, man.
Doesn't seem. What are they making? $14 billion a year, college football, and
Something like
the
that.
players wind up getting like $39.05.
It's something like that. Anyway, that's from Gail. And Alicia says, just thinking about you. Hope you had an outstanding weekend. So thinking about it. Scott says, can you get Doug Krikorian as a guest on the show here today?
Scott, Doug is retired.
So he's retired.
Doug is retired.
I want to remind you, you can follow Fred on Facebook. It's Fred_Dryer, D-R-Y-E-R. I follow him on Twitter, rather, Fred_Dryer.com. And on Facebook, Facebook.com/The Real Fred Dryer. And don't forget, email Fred, FredDryer@CRNTalk.com.
Yes, by all means.
That'll take care of it there for you. Now, Ronnie says Fred Dryer is the ultimate shining star, the best by a long shot. No one even comes close, and I should know because I'm his #1 fan.
God bless you, Ronnie. Thank you.
And Rod says, will students choose a college now for an education or for the monetary possibilities?
Education and the opportunity for young athletes to become professionals and make lots of money is just a viable education as going out and getting a doctorate in something.
Should we tax that money that they make then?
Well, they're going to be.
Yeah, he's going to have to. Some guy wants to tax their if they get a scholarship since they can make money off their football career. What do you think about that one, Fred?
Well, that's a good idea.
Don't forget, we're with you every week here at this time. Do the show for you Wednesdays, 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern, Saturdays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. Check it all out there. Email FredDryer@CRNTalk.com. Download our cell phone app. Free for your smartphone. You can listen to us wherever you are, wherever you go. Just on your smartphone, dial pound 250. It's the pound symbol, and then 250. Hit send. When the call is answered, say the keywords CRN Talk, and the app will be loaded up to your phone. Final thoughts from you, Fred Dryer?
That's a great bit of advice, folks. Follow it. That's a great app.
It's a good app, and you can do it there. See you next week. Email Fred, FredDryer@CRNTalk.com.
And so many more. Entertainment and lifestyle programming like The Robert Conrad Show, The What's Cooking Show, and The What's Cooking on Wine Show, all in true CRN HD audio. Sports, business, travel, food, wine, politics, there is something for everyone, and it's all available in CRN High Definition Sound. Log on to www.crntalk for listings and information on all your favorite shows. That's www.crntalk.com.
The radio channels. The radio channels. CRN.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Strong Santa Ana winds continue to buffet Southern California, bringing continued headaches to firefighters. California Governor Gavin Newsom says wildfires have been flaring up in multiple spots around the Los Angeles area.
Strike teams are currently working not just on the Ventura fire, the Simi/Easy fire, but we've seen some flare-ups, Hill fire now that are impacting Ontario Airport and some of the visibility around Ontario Airport, and a fire in Riverside and some others around Calabasas.
The flames narrowly